Today I want to do a book tag that has been around for a few years but seems to pop up again every now and then in BookTube because we all just love Harry Potter so much. It's the Harry Potter Spells book tag, which was created by TurtleSympathy, who doesn't seem to be on YouTube anymore, so I can't link to their original video, but thanks to them for coming up with this book tag. First up is a childhood book connected with good memories. The spell is Expecto Patronum. For me, that is The Two Princesses of Bamar by Gail Carson Levine. I got this book at a Scholastic book fair in like the 6th grade, and as you can see, I have read it a lot. It's pretty beat up. I love this book so much. Harry Potter was definitely the book that first made me say I want to be a writer when I grow up, but The Two Princesses of Bamar was probably the second book that I would put in that evolution of me wanting to be a writer. It really informed the types of books that I wanted to be able to write. I wanted to be able to write things that could create the kind of emotional response that this book gave me, because this book made me sob, but it also made me really happy, and it was this perfect mix of bittersweetness, and I've always wanted to be able to capture that the way that Gail Carson Levine does. Next, a book that took you by surprise. The spell is Expelliarmus. Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff took me by surprise in so many ways. Of course, there are huge plot twists in it and in its sequels that just blew my mind and shocked me, but it also really took me by surprise with its format. The idea of a book told through documents was not something I was really all that into. I've maybe read one or two things in like English classes that were made up of letters, and I never feel like they really tell a story as strongly as I want them to, but Illuminae sure as heck does. The last book you read, Priori Incantato. Yeah, for me that would be Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is the host of The Daily Show, if you aren't familiar with him, and this is his memoir of growing up in South Africa, where he was literally born a crime because he is biracial, and biracial relationships were illegal at that point in time. I listened to the audiobook which Trevor Noah narrates, and it is just fantastic. Next, a book that introduced you to a genre you had not considered before, Alohamora. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This is probably more format than genre, but I do not like books in verse. I have never liked them. I've never been a huge poetry person to begin with, but especially trying to tell a whole novel in poetry format is not my thing. But I read Long Way Down because it's Jason Reynolds and he's amazing, and the book was getting so much buzz, and it was absolutely fantastic. Definitely more open to reading other novels in verse in the future, where before I would have just passed them up and expected them to be like something I had to read in high school English class. For a funny book you've read, the spell is Riddikulus. And the book is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. I think I got those authors right. I had a really difficult time figuring out a book for this spell because I don't read a lot of comedy or a lot of books that are overwhelmingly a humor novel genre, whatever. I don't know how to categorize that. But then I was scrolling through my Goodreads and I saw My Lady Jane and remembered how hilarious that book is and how much I just absolutely adored it. A book you think everyone should know about. Sonorous Serpentine by Cindy Pon. Go out and buy it and read it. It is so flippin' fantastic. It is Chinese-inspired fantasy centered on feminine power, and it's from a smaller publisher, I believe, which is why it's not so well known, but it is just such a good fantasy novel and a very feminist novel and so powerful, and I just want everyone to read it and its sequel, Sacrifice, which might be even better than the first book. A book you would like to forget having read. Obliviate. This book, let me tell you about it. This is The Soldiers of Hala by DJ McHale. It is the 10th and final book in the Pendragon series, which I loved that series. I have all of the books. I was reading them as they came out. I was obsessed and I couldn't wait to find out all the answers, but all these mysteries, because it built up all these mysteries around basically this group of people who can travel to these different worlds where they have to preserve the balance, and there's this big evil guy, and the last book came out and I was really excited to find out how it all wrapped up, and the ending was terrible. There were just so many things that I did not want from this book that I got. Just the ending, how the character's story ends, the way you find out the answers to all the mysteries is like, let's have this all-knowing character sit down, the main character, and explain everything to him, which is a pet peeve of mine. I do not like that. I really do wish that I could just forget that the 10th book exists and continue to love the other 9, because this one has kind of tainted the rest of the series for me. Next is a book you had to read for school. The spell, Imperio. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I had to read this for my summer reading assignment right before 9th grade, right before I went to high school, and at the time it was my first ever summer reading assignment, and I was upset that I had to read this little 175-page book that's actually like really good and really interesting, but I was just upset that I had to read a book for school over the summer. And then the next summer I had to read Grapes of Wrath, and I was really sorry that I ever complained about Fahrenheit 451, because Grapes of Wrath is kind of the worst, and Fahrenheit 451 is actually pretty good. A book that was painful to read, Crucio. Yeah, so I used to really love the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. If you go back to our old videos, you'll see how obsessed I was with them for a while. And then the 4th book took me forever to read because I enjoyed it so little, and it was quite painful for me to get through, but I forced myself through it, and then afterwards I said, you know what, I don't think that these books are for me anymore, and so I just haven't read any more of them, but the 4th one was definitely a very painful experience for me. Lastly, a book that could kill, to be interpreted however you will. The spell, of course, is Avada Kedavra. I chose Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wine because this book absolutely destroyed me. It killed my soul and just killed me and all of my emotions, but it's also just one of the best books of all time, definitely my favorite historical fiction novel of all time. It's so great, but I've definitely shed more than a few tears over this book. And that is the Harry Potter spells book tag. Comment down below or make your own video even to let me know what books you would assign to these different spells, and I'll put all of the 10 spells and what they are down in the description of the video so you can get them there. And of course, don't forget to join us this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our live chat. We will be talking about The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. It's our book club for this month and we are very excited to talk about it.